Has this ever happened to you where you tried to replace the cover on your mat and it just wasn't sticky anymore? Well, let me help you with this and a few other tips and tricks that I've learned on my crafting journey. Let's get started. If you've ever noticed that your cover on your mat is not sticky anymore, it may not be what you think it is. There's actually a right and wrong way to replace the cover on your mat. So if you try to put the cover back on, because we know the cover is important, it's not trash, and you notice that it's not sticky, what you can do is just turn it over, because there's actually a right and wrong way to replace the cover on your mat. So now you see my mat, it's not the cleanest or newest mat, and this cover is not the cleanest or newest either. But what you do is make sure that the top, where the hole is right there, is aligned with the top of the mat. And you just place it on top and line it up as good as you can. And once you have it on the right way, you'll know, because it will actually stick to the mat. And sometimes, so you can tell that it's stickier now. If I try to pull it off, there's actually some adhesion going on right there. What I've done to help with that, or to alleviate trying to figure out which side is up, is I've created a sheet of stickers, little Cricut cuties, that you can place on the cover of your mat to let you know which side is the right side. So here's a little green cutie, and I'm just going to put it right here at the corner, and that way I never have to try to figure it out again, which side is up, which side is down. And I created them in every single color. I've shared this file in Cricut Design Space. All you have to do is follow me in Cricut Design Space, and you can get access to this exact same sheet of stickers. You can make multiple sets if you want to. Okay, so hopefully that will help you. That is tip number one, and that will work with all of your mats. Let me put my mat over here. I've taken mine down because I was just trying to make sure all of my mats have the right little sticker at the top. Hello everyone, and welcome to Crafting with Delonda. It's me again, Delonda, and thank you so much for joining me today. In today's little chat, I am going to be sharing 10 of the tips and tricks that I have learned on my crafting journey. Now, I could really make this video hours and hours long, because there are so many things that I've learned on my crafting journey. But there are just 10 things that I want to share with you today, and hopefully you will find them helpful. At the end of this video, if you do find them helpful, remember to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and turn on the bell for notifications, because I do upload new content every single week. Now, without further ado, let's continue with my second tip or trick that should help you on your crafting journey. Tip number 2. At the beginning of my journey, I didn't realize how important it was to label the vinyl. So I would purchase these rolls and rolls and sheets of vinyl, and I would just store them away. And I have some of the vinyl, I have no idea what it is. For example, this is a roll of vinyl, and it doesn't have any name on it. And it's because it's heat transfer vinyl, it will be hard for me to figure out where I ordered this from, and what are the temperature settings and all of that. What I suggest you do is, if you're anything like me and you order your vinyl online, as soon as it comes in, label it. So this is how I label my vinyl, but you will find the system that works best for you. So typically I like to order, because I know now, I like to order Caesar vinyl. I like their glitter vinyl. I like their Caesar Easy Weed. I like really all of the different types of Caesar vinyl. The reason why I love Caesar Easy Weed and the Caesar glitter vinyl is because it is not hard to remember the settings. And for most of the Caesar vinyl, pretty much the vinyl that I use the most, it is considered as a hot or cold peel. I don't have to try to figure it out. Like, do I have to wait until the vinyl cools down? Can I peel it right now? I love taking the guesswork out of it. So, but this is how I label mine. I just use painter's tape or masking tape, and I'll just write down the brand. And if I'm not sure about the color, I'll write down the color. So I just use a piece of tape and I write on it. And once I'm finished cutting a piece off of it, I'll put that same piece of tape back. This one is Paper Studio Glitter HTV. This one is also Caesar, and I didn't have to write that it was white. I can see that it's white. But if I was using a different color, I would write down the color. Now, that is my tip. As soon as you order your vinyl, label it immediately if it doesn't already have a label. Now, if you don't want to use this method of taping around it, I've seen some other crafters use those slap bracelets, or some other crafters even write on the backing of their vinyl. They'll write on it like with a Sharpie or something like that. Use whatever system works for you, but make sure you label your vinyl. Let's move on to tip number 3. Tip number 3, let's go back to this same roll of vinyl that I don't have labeled. If I wanted to use this vinyl and I'm not sure of the brand, I'm not sure of the temperature settings, I'm not sure if it's a hot or cold peel, my advice, in my opinion, when I have vinyl like this and I'm not sure about it, I just assume that it is a cold peel. What do I mean by that? I assume that the temperature to press it is going to be right at about 315 degrees. That's where I would start, 315 degrees Fahrenheit. I would probably press it for like 15 seconds. And once I finish pressing this on a shirt, on a bag, or whatever fabric I was going to press this on, I would let it cool down completely before I start to peel it away. I would not just press it and then just try to peel it away because I don't know what the settings are. I would always assume that it is a cold peel. Okay, so that is tip number 3. When you're in doubt, don't peel it out. Look, see, I'm a rapper. I didn't even know it. All right, let's move on to tip number 4. Tip number 4. There are 5 household items that I would not know I was going to need when I started crafting. Now, there are a lot more than 5, but these are the first 5 that came to my mind. Number one of those household items is a lint roller. Now, never in a million years did I think I would need a lint roller during crafting, but I use a lint roller when I'm going through the sublimation process. So before you start to press your fabric or your polyester, you will need to lint roll to remove any of the blue fibers that are actually invisible before you press. And if you haven't started your sublimation journey or your infusible ink journey just yet, just know that before you do, it's a good idea to go ahead and get a lint roller. Item number 2, parchment paper. I use parchment paper, and it doesn't have to be this brand. It can be any brand of parchment paper, you know, as long as it's a non-stick parchment paper. It can be any brand. I use this when I am layering heat transfer vinyl. That's the only time I use parchment paper. Okay, so I have this, and I don't keep this in my kitchen. This is specifically for my craft room. Okay, so when I was making this shirt right here, all of this is heat transfer vinyl, is layered heat transfer vinyl. Between each layer, I use parchment paper to make sure to help protect my vinyl from shrinking down so much. Number 3, painter's tape. I use painter's tape. I have some red painter's tape. Shout out to Stacy A. Bear. She purchased this for me because she knows I love red. I didn't even know they made red painter's tape. But anyway, painter's tape, you use this for a variety of reasons. A lot of times you'll use this with your Cricut maker when you are doing acrylic engraving. You'll need to use this, or if you're cutting wood with the Cricut maker, you'll use this. You can also use painter's tape when you are working with rhinestone templates to kind of separate the parts of the template that you don't want to brush in. Okay, so who would have known? The next item is aluminum foil. This is just a piece of aluminum foil that is, you know, shaped into a little ball. I use this with my Cricut blade, and I just use it to kind of clean it off. You just poke it through a few times to get off any of the debris that's on the blade, and it really does help. So I keep this in my craft room. And last but not least is a tape measure. Now I do have a Cricut ruler. You can see it right back there, but I never would have known that I was going to be using a measuring tape. And I actually use this quite often, especially when I'm trying to measure my tumblers, or even measuring the width of a shirt, or something that I'm going to be, careful about the sizing. I'm using a measuring tape. So if you don't have those 5 things, and even if those things that I just listed are not a part of your crafting journey yet, it's probably a good idea to go ahead and get them now so that you'll be prepared once you do. All right, let's move on to tip number 5. Tip number 5, there are some acronyms that are just important to know. For example, HTV. When I first got started crafting, I had no idea what HTV was. I would hear some people refer to it as iron-on vinyl. I would hear people refer to it as heat transfer vinyl, and I just never put 2 and 2 together that heat transfer vinyl was HTV. So if you hear the term iron-on vinyl, that's really a Cricut term for heat transfer vinyl. And that's simply vinyl that is applied using heat. For example, the vinyl that's on this shirt right here is heat transfer vinyl, or HTV. Another important acronym to know is PNG. A PNG is a file that is an image file, basically, that does not have a background. Okay, so it's important to know what a PNG is. Another important acronym is JPEG. It's not important to know what they mean, but it's important to know what they look like. A JPEG is just like a PNG. It just has a background. So a JPEG in most cases has a white background, and a PNG has no background. Okay. DTF is another acronym that's very popular with the crafting community right now. DTF stands for direct to film. In most cases, when you're talking about direct to film, you're either using the direct to film printer and following the process of printing your image on film, and then using the powder and pressing the image on a shirt or some other type of fabric. Or you can order DTF transfers, direct to film transfers. When you order direct to film transfers, you're ordering basically a piece of film that has the image already printed on it. Okay. And then last but not least, I would say UV DTF. UV DTF stands for ultraviolet direct to film. So an example of that is having my logo right here. This is an UV DTF sticker. That's all this is. It's just my logo with no background, and it's printed on film, and then I used it as a sticker to put it on this water bottle. All right, let's move on to tip number 6. Tip number 6 is it's important to know the different types of vinyl, or know the type of vinyl you will need for a specific project. So let's go back to this roll right here, right? This roll of vinyl is not labeled, but I do know that this is heat transfer vinyl. I know that it's not the same as this, and I did not know this beforehand. I know that this is heat transfer vinyl and this is not. The reason why I know that is because in most cases with heat transfer vinyl, it'll have a clear backing. It'll feel less plasticky and a little bit more soft when you're working with it. Also, I can take a weeding tool and I can kind of peel back the corner, and I can know this is what the heat transfer vinyl looks like. In most cases with heat transfer vinyl, it's normally clear on one side, or one side is pretty and the other side is not so pretty. So this is what it looks like. It's pretty on this side, and then it's just white here on this side. And when I peel it back, the way it feels is very soft. Now, in comparison to adhesive vinyl or permanent vinyl, it normally has squares on the back. And when you're working with adhesive vinyl, you put the squares down on the mat. So in most cases, what most people don't recognize about adhesive vinyl is that it's the same color on both sides. So this is what the adhesive vinyl looks like. It's the same exact color on both sides, and it's not that way with heat transfer vinyl. And all right, that was tip number, I think that was tip number 6. All right, let's keep moving on. Tip number 7, when you are in the process of working with a cut file, an SVG, or a layered file, it is my opinion that you should do your best to work with one brand of vinyl. For example, if I look at this shirt, I can see that I have a lot of different colors, right? I have this gold, I have black, I have red, and I have green. So this is 4 different colors of vinyl. And if I'm working with 4 different colors or 3 different colors, or even if it's just 2 different colors, it is best, in my opinion, to work with one brand. For example, if I'm working with 4 different colors of Caesar brand, I know what the time and temperature settings are. I know that once I press the first layer, I can press it for 5 seconds and just get it tacked down. And I'm not having to figure out, is it a hot peel? Is it a cold peel? Do I need to wait? Can I peel it now? When you're working with one brand, you follow that brand's recommended suggestions for pressing the vinyl. So you're not having to try to play a guessing game with, which layer can I press and what do I have to do? Do I need to wait? That is my advice for working with layered vinyl or trying to do multiple layers at one time. Here's another example of a layered file. So all of this vinyl right here is the Caesar brand. This is all Caesar glitter vinyl, and I can press one layer and I know the exact settings. Caesar has a fantastic document that they've created with all of their vinyl and all of the time and temperature settings, and I will make sure that document is linked below this video. Let's move on to tip number 8. Tip number 8, when you're working with 2 different types of vinyl and you're trying to figure out which one to press first, I suggest pressing the vinyl that has the highest temperature setting requirement first, or the one that has to be pressed the longest, press that one first. Because in my opinion, pressing that item twice won't damage the vinyl or the material in any way. Now, this is an example, is not the best example, but hopefully this will help. So with this shirt right here, I use 2 different types of vinyl. The blue text is Caesar Brick vinyl, Caesar Brick 600, and the H with the star is Caesar Easy Color DTV. Now, even though both of these 2 different types of vinyl require a temperature setting of 310 degrees Fahrenheit, they don't require the same pressing time. So before I made this, I had to make a decision about which layer to press first. I believe I pressed the H first, and I think I did that because I knew it could be pressed twice. But I also knew that pressing the H first would ensure it was really adhered to the shirt, because the Caesar Brick has a more raised look and feel to it. And I wanted to make sure that the H would be on the shirt in the way that I wanted it to be. Now, if you haven't seen this tutorial, I will make sure it is linked below the video. But in any other example you can think of that you've seen me try, or things that you are thinking about trying, I highly recommend pressing the item that requires the highest temperature or even the longest press setting. Press that item first. All right, let's move on to tip number 9. Tip number 9, in order to save money, I suggest purchasing vinyl by the roll instead of vinyl by the sheet. Now, this is what vinyl by the sheet looks like. In most cases, you can get the vinyl in any color, and all of that. Your options for doing that are endless. And I think, in my opinion, no matter what brand of vinyl you buy, if you purchase vinyl by the sheet, you're going to spend more money in comparison to purchasing vinyl by the roll. Now, just in looking at one of my favorite websites, I can see that they sell Caesar Easy Weed vinyl in pretty much any color you can think of. Once you get a 12 by, I think it's a 12 by 12 sheet, one sheet is $3.50. However, if you purchase 5 feet of that same exact color and the same exact brand, it's $12.99. And if you do $12.99 divided by 5, you will get $2.59. So you are actually saving $1 per foot by purchasing the vinyl by the roll instead of by the sheet. Now, that's just my personal preference. Some people prefer to purchase vinyl by the sheet because they like to store them in, their drawers or whatever like that. I prefer to keep my vinyl in clear plastic bins, and I showed you how I organize and label mine. But that is just my piece of advice if you want to save a little bit of money here or there. Let's move on to our very last tip. If you are finding this helpful so far, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on any of my crafty content. Now let's move on to my last tip. And I can't wait to hear about what is your favorite tip from the 10 that I've shared with you so far. My last and final tip for this exact video is to try to learn how to make your designs outside of Cricut Design Space. And I know that is tough. I know that that might be a challenge for you, but there are so many other software options that will allow you to design and save and share and print without the restrictions that come along with Cricut Design Space. In my opinion, you're kind of limited with only designing in Cricut Design Space because it is hard to share your design outside of Cricut Design Space. Now, of course, there is a workaround with taking a screenshot of, whatever you've designed, but then you also lower the quality of your design by taking a screenshot and then uploading it into another program. There are options like Canva where you can design. You have access to lots and lots of images, especially if you have a Canva Pro account. You can also design in Silhouette Studio. There's a free version of Silhouette Studio where you can download your images from Creative Fabrica or Design Bundles or other Etsy, and you can put your files together. Now, it does require, learning how to use the different software options, but I think the learning is key and it will benefit you greatly just in case you don't want to use Cricut Design Space anymore, or you want to expand your knowledge to using a different cutter. Okay, so that is just my 2 cents on that. I know that learning a new software does have its, I would even say disadvantages, because there is a learning curve that comes with learning new software. And if you are anything like me, being a woman of a certain age, learning a new software can be overwhelming, but you would do it the same way you did with Cricut Design Space, just learning a piece at a time. Okay, so hopefully you have found this helpful. I will make sure to link other software options below that I think are helpful and user-friendly, just for you to take a look at and just even to consider. If you did find this helpful, please leave me a comment below to let me know which of these tips you found the most helpful. And if there are any questions you have about anything I've shared, please leave your questions below and I will do my very best to respond to them. If you did find this helpful, please remember to like the video, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the bell for notifications, because I do upload new content every single week. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thanks for watching. Bye.